How many times have you heard someone say, "Don't touch that animal"? If you're not careful, this warning can come back to haunt you in the form of a painful or even deadly bite or sting. 9 dangerous animals never touch. Number 1. Sea urchin. If you've ever been snorkeling or diving around a reef, you'll be more than familiar with the scourge of the sea urchin. There are actually at least 200 different species of them, and they come in a wide range of different shapes and colors. But one thing is true about all of them. You definitely want to do everything in your power to avoid touching or standing on one. They have 2 types of defense: the visible spikes and the venom that they contain. If you're unfortunate enough to make contact with one, the effect it will have depends on whether the spine is able to puncture your skin or not. If it does, it will release venom too, and will probably break off inside your body, which can cause further damage. An urgent sting is painful as soon as it occurs, and will lead to virtually instant swelling. Further symptoms may develop such as weakness, muscle ache, drowsiness, and even paralysis. And if left untreated, the puncture site may also become infected. A small percentage of people who are stung by urchins can die as a result, mainly because of allergies to their venom. So to be on the safe side, you're best staying well clear of them. Number 2. Blue ring octopus. There are 4 different species of blue-ringed octopus, each of which lives in the waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, and each of which is extremely dangerous and should never, ever be touched or picked up. This is because they are regarded as being the world's most venomous animal, and each individual contains enough venom to kill 26 adults. This is surprising considering they grow to be no more than 8 inches long, and their beautiful coloration and docile nature means that people instinctively want to pick them up if they see them in the water or in a rock pool. This is a big mistake, however, because the bite of a blue-ringed octopus is almost impossible to feel, and the first sign you'll get that you've been invented is when the symptoms start to happen. Their venom contains several powerful chemicals, including tetrodotoxin, dopamine, taurine, and histamine. It's more than 1,200 times more powerful than cyanide and leads to paralysis within minutes. It's a particularly horrible way to die because most deaths occur due to the inability to breathe, and before that happens, you're also likely to become nauseous, lose your sense of sight, and won't be able to move at all, so wouldn't be able to tell anyone nearby what's happening. There's no end of venom for this thing, so if a lethal dose makes its way into your system, you'd better pray it ends quickly. Number 3. Fire coral. Fire corals are the yellow, green, or brown growth that you see around coral reefs and look so similar to seaweed that they are often mistaken for it. They can be found in the Indian, Pacific, Atlantic, and the Caribbean, and are particularly common where the currents passing over the reefs are strong. Surprisingly, despite their name, they're not actually a type of coral, but instead have closer links with hydra. This means that they have different defense mechanisms to corals, and one in particular means that you want to do all you can to avoid touching one. They have small, almost invisible tentacles all over them that are covered in nematocysts. These explosive cells rupture upon contact and release toxic chemicals in a similar way to how a jellyfish sting works. If you touch one gently, they will create an intense burning sensation on the surface of your skin. But if you are unlucky enough to be scratched by the fire coral, the chemicals will be released underneath your skin and can cause excruciating pain for a few weeks. Fire corals are therefore a well-known danger on the reefs, and divers are routinely warned to stay away from them. Number 4. Crown of thorns starfish. Most starfish are completely harmless, but there's one that's found in the Indian and Pacific Oceans that is a nasty surprise for anything that tries to touch it. It's one of the largest starfish species in the world, and is known as the crown of thorns starfish. Growing up to 14 inches across, their bodies are a familiar starfish shape, but unlike most others, they are covered in long, sharp spines. Not only does this pose a risk of cuts and abrasions, but these spines also contain powerful toxins. If part of one breaks off into a wound, it will almost instantly lead to a sharp stinging sensation, continuous bleeding and swelling, and nausea for a number of days. Population numbers of these starfish are a concern on coral reefs because they actively hunt and eat coral polyps. In recent years, human fishing of a few species that eat the stars has meant that they have bred unchecked in some areas, and the damage is becoming increasingly clear. To see conservation efforts involve removing the stars or injecting them with chemicals to kill them, which is something that has to be done extremely carefully to reduce the risk of being injured while doing it. Number 5. Giant water bug. Next on the list are giant water bugs. Giant is surely the right term to define these. As you can see, they grow up to 4 inches big. Not so normal for a bug now, is it? You will easily be able to spot these because of how different they are. Shaped like these giant water bugs are largely found in East Asia, Northern Australia, and the United States. So if you're probably going to come across them often, you live in these locations. But make sure that you do not touch them, as they have one of the most painful bites ever. While these may be smaller as compared to other dangerous animals out there, you want to keep yourself far away from them. A small bite of theirs can cause an immense amount of discomfort. Also, they're known to have the most painful bites ever. When it comes to insects, the worst thing about their bite is that it can cause you pain for several hours. Nobody wants that, now do you? They mainly attack human toes. No kidding. They're known as the toe fighters in many places. So make sure that the next time you go near a waterbed, you're wearing covered shoes to avoid getting bitten by these giant water bugs. Number 6. Blue-ringed octopus. Moving on to the blue-ringed octopus, you will find 4 different types of blue-ringed octopuses under the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Just by looking at these creatures, you can tell how beautiful they are, but don't ever make the mistake of picking them up. Buses are beautiful on the outside, but are highly venomous, so if you go to touch one, you will surely find yourself in a lot of trouble. One of these small creatures has so much venom that they can kill about 26 humans with their sting. Scary, isn't it? What makes things even more interesting is that the blue-ringed octopus barely measures about 8 inches. So you are left wondering how these small creatures hold so much venom. But don't get distracted by their smallness. Their venom is a mixture of various elements such as dopamine, tetrodotoxin, histamine, and taurine. The combination is highly powerful and will lead to paralysis within a few minutes of getting stung by the blue-ringed octopus. The worst thing is that there is no cure for their stings. So unless you want to play with your life, you want to avoid coming close to or touching these blue-ringed octopuses. Number 7. Panda ants. Now let's talk about the panda ants. These are commonly known as the velvet ants because of the fuzzy exterior they have. This little insect looks exactly like a panda, with their black and white body and the black rings on their face. Doesn't it feel like you're looking at a mini panda here? But guess what? These panda ants aren't really ants. They are chalet and wasps. And while they might look harmless and adorable like a panda, they're the complete opposite of that. But the surprising thing about these panda ants is that only the female ones appear to be like a panda. And without the wings, the male panda ants have their wings, and you can easily tell that they're wasps. The reason why the female panda ants don't have wings is that they have these stingers that can surely cause you a lot of pain. They are commonly known as the cow killers, given how fatal their stings are for cows. So it is best not to underestimate their stings, and make sure to keep yourself at a distance from them. They pose a high risk to human life, and you should make sure that you don't let these fuzzy little insects come close to you. Number 8. Fire coral. Next, we have the fire coral that is found in the Pacific, Indian, and Atlantic Oceans. Corals might not seem like the worst thing on the planet. People go diving and snorkeling just to explore the coral reefs and enjoy the view they get to see. But fire coral is not the same as coral reefs. Instead, they're the corals that you see surrounding the coral reefs. Fire corals are typically brown, green, or yellow growth that surround the coral reefs. So you'll find that they look more like seaweed as opposed to a coral reef. But what makes them be a part of this list? Let's get one thing off the list though. Fire corals aren't really corals at all. Instead, they are closely linked to the hydra. So what this means is that they will surely have some way that they protect themselves. And how do they do this? Well, they have hidden tentacles all over them that you won't be able to see clearly. Getting close to these corals means that you're allowing yourself to get stung by them. They release chemicals and toxins that are harmful to humans. If you gently touch them, then you will surely feel a burning sensation. However, if you get scratched by the fire coral, then there's immense pain that you will have to endure. Number 9. Pufferfish. Next, we have the pufferfish. This type of fish has its own vast variety that spans over 200 species. So you will find them in a variety of locations all across the world. They are mostly found in warm waters in different locations in the world. And while they may look like they are harmless, they can cause a lot of damage to humans. Pufferfish have an extremely strong built-in self-defense system that allows them to keep humans away from them or hurt them. See how we said only humans and no other predators? Well, while their defense mechanism works for keeping humans at a distance, predators don't feel much pain from it. So what is this built-in self-defense system they have? These species aren't particularly fast, so to protect themselves, they use a method where they inhale water or air into their system. They inhale an excessive amount of water or air, and as they do this, they take on a much rounder appearance. This causes the spines that are present on their bodies to pop out. But that's not all. Their flesh contains toxins that are highly fatal to humans. This doesn't work in the same way for other animals though. It's only us humans that need to watch out for the pufferfish.